7.
His Best of 7 series for
of a Best of 7 series.
Welcome to the Best of 7 podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Plant and Noah Lewin.
Welcome to the Best of 7 podcast. I am your host, Brandon Plant from SENS. In this episode number 2 of the Best of 7 podcast, we are going to discuss COVID-19 and how it's affecting our podcast, the future guests that we're going to have on the podcast, SENS signing a defenseman, Gord Wilson tests positive for COVID-19, terrible news, and of course, my top 7 sports movies. Firstly, let's discuss how COVID-19 is affecting our podcast. Due to self-isolation, social distancing, all the measures that health professionals are telling us to follow, we're unable to film in the same location. This is affecting the length of episodes and our ability to have guests. So until the social distancing period is over, right now some episodes may be shorter, we may have less guests on, and that's not because we don't want to have longer episodes or guests on, it's because the strain of research that we have due to this pandemic has caused us to come up on the fly with new ideas to film this podcast. So rest assured, once social distancing is over, we'll go back to the studio and film episodes all together, an hour long, 45 minute to an hour long episodes. But right now, episodes may be shorter due to COVID-19. But rest assured, once COVID-19 is cleared or social distancing isn't needed, we will have longer episodes. Now, future guests, we are putting together a very, very great guest list. We may even have a guest next week or in 2 weeks. I have about 8 or 9 people lined up already, so stay tuned for that. A lot of great guests are going to come up on the Best of Zone podcast because you guys and girls out there who've supported me and now are supporting this and my friends Nolut and Giordano Ladisa deserve the best. Now let's get to the next topic. The Senators are expected to sign KHL defenseman, that's KHL is in Russia, defenseman Artyom Zub. Right-handed defender per Darren Dreger. Zub is a 6'2" blue liner who posted 13 goals and 22 points, 57 games this season with SKA St. Petersburg. I don't really want to get into it right now. This is more a podcast episode. I'll definitely have more on that when he is officially signed by the Ottawa Senators. I will make a video and I'll post that on SENS, so stay tuned for that. As well, Gord Wilson. Gord Wilson has confirmed that he has contracted COVID-19. It's been devastating for the months to see Gord because it's been devastating a few months for Gord Wilson because he had a heart attack last month or 2 months ago as well. So he recovers from the heart attack. Now he's contracted COVID-19. It's a terrible string of luck for Gord Wilson, but he's a fighter and he will get through it. But thoughts and prayers are with Gord Wilson at this time. It's just a terrible, terrible news thing to hear. Now let's get to my top 7 sports movies. You know what? I put a lot of thought into this one. I think you'll like Nolut and Giordano Ladisa's, our producers, list as well. But here's my top 7 sports movies to watch during this pandemic while you're in quarantine to keep yourself busy. Number 7, The Mighty Ducks. Number 1, Coach Gordon Bombay. It's just a hockey classic. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. You gotta love the Flying V. The Mighty Ducks. A whole family can watch it. Number 6, Goon. Doug Glatt, number 69. If you like seeing fights, you like seeing stereotypical Canadian stuff, Goon is the movie for you. It's a Canadian comedy, hockey comedy. It's just a funny movie. If you're Canadian, you'll love it. If you're American, I'm sure you'll like it as well. But there's plenty of fights. If you like violence, that is the movie for you. Number 5, Talladega Nights. Will Ferrell as Ricky Bobby. All you need to know, this hysterical movie, just so funny, a great comedy, and on top of that, it's very stereotypically American, like Southerner American, so it's just funny, very stereotypical, of course, but it's a funny movie. Will Ferrell is one of the best actors, so that is a great movie to watch as well. Number 4, Slapshot. It's the best hockey movie. You got the Hanson brothers, you just have classic lines in that movie. If you want to watch a hockey classic that everyone loves, a sports classic too, Slapshot is your option. That one comes in at number 4. Number 3, Blindside. Just a great true story. It's based off a true story. It's a heartwarming sports drama. It's great to see him succeed. And it just ties you into the story because it's actually a true story. And the main character, I won't spoil it to you, but the main character really does go on to the NFL. So it's a great story. I do recommend watching The Blind Side. Number 2, Moneyball. Moneyball is Moneyball. We all know it. It changed the baseball as we know it. You got, you just got all the classic old school baseball vibes in the movie, and then you got the new one with Jonah Hill, the Yale graduate, who changes baseball as assistant manager with all the statistics that old baseball men never looked at, and they really show the stereotypes, and they really show how baseball has evolved through time, especially when it was just 30 home runs, 70 RBIs, not just advanced stats. Great movie if you like analytics, but it's also a great movie to watch if you're a baseball fan, because it really shows how things have changed. Number 1, Draft Day. I know this might be a hot take, but this movie is my favorite sports movie by far. Vontae Mack, number 1, no matter what. That is general manager of the Cleveland Browns. He had a piece of paper, and he knew he was going to draft Vontae Mack no matter what. I love this movie because not only that, it shows the Browns aren't a joke anymore. And on top of that, the realism of the movie is why it's at number 1. It feels like you are a part of the Cleveland Browns organization. You're watching everything crumble apart and then somehow get saved by the general manager. You have the owner who's demanding him to draft number 1. So he gets the first overall pick, trades up a bunch of draft capital, and then he somehow maneuvers into winning the draft and getting like 4 top players for his team to compete next year with the starting quarterback. So it makes you feel like you're a part of the organization. It's a really real movie. It's really rich. So number 1, Draft Day for sure. Now let's throw it to the Best of 7 podcast co-host, Noah Luden.
Thanks, Brandon. I'm Noah Luden, the co-host of the Best of 7 podcast, and here are my hot takes. The Sens might sign Russian defenseman Artyom Zub, 24 years old, and in 57 games in the KHL this year, he has 13 goals, 22 points, and a plus 35. I like this potential signing. Ottawa's defense is pretty bad, and anything that can help shore up the defense is a plus. It's a low-risk signing, probably, and I'm looking forward to the potential signing. In more sad news, Ottawa sports icon Gord Wilson has announced that he has contracted COVID-19. We're hoping for Gord to have a speedy recovery, and it's another reminder to practice social distancing and to stay home unless it's an emergency. Please stay home. We'd like to also extend our condolences to the Hogberg family, as Ottawa Senators goaltender Marcus Hogberg, his father, has passed away. It was announced today after a long battle with cancer. May he rest in peace. Now let's pick it up a little bit. Top 7 sports movies that you could be watching during this social distancing period, and so you could take some time off your hands off of this weird situation. Number 7, Remember the Titans. It's Coach Boone, the legendary movie, football classic. And there's going to be a lot of football movies on this list. Just something about football movies are awesome, and man, this one is just up there with the best of football movies. Number 6, Longest Yard. Gotta be Longest Yard, starring Adam Sandler. Every Adam Sandler movie is great in my opinion, but he has to get a bunch of prisoners basically to win a football game against the prison guards, and it's a very entertaining movie, and Adam Sandler again is just a phenomenal actor, so it's a great movie to watch. Number 5, Concussion, a true story about the GOAT himself, the legend Bennett Omalu. Oh, what a great guy. He helped discover CTE and basically expose the NFL for not adhering to concussion protocols, and made sure that the NFL implemented these rules so we can increase player safety. And looking back, what a great time that was, because now we're going leaps and bounds with concussion research. Number 4, an actual movie that's not football, A League of Their Own.
There's no crying in baseball!
Tom Hanks in the all-women's baseball league, and it's a very entertaining movie. There's no crying in baseball. I can't think of a more iconic quote than that from a baseball movie. Even iconic movies like Moneyball, I don't think there's anything like There Ain't No Crying in Baseball. Great movie, and it's a good movie at number 4. Number 3, Miracle, Coach Herb Brooks, based on a true story of the U.S.-Soviet rivalry and how the U.S. upset the Russians. And man, it's just a great movie. Again, I'm not a hockey movie finally, but I love my hockey movies, and Miracle, just watching the game recap of the actual game and then watching the movie as well. It's a great movie here at number 3. Number 2, Coach Carter, Sam L. Jackson. You gotta love Sam L. Jackson. He's a great actor, and it's a basketball classic. He returns to his old high school. He has to coach this basketball team, and boy, what a great basketball movie, Coach Carter with Sam L. Number 1, the best sports movie in my humble opinion. Go Birds, it's Invincible, starring Mark Wahlberg as the Eagles legend, Vince Papilla. Boy, what a phenomenal movie. You gotta give it to the Birds. And Invincible is just a phenomenal movie. Great job by Mark Wahlberg from 2006, I believe. Man, I love this movie so much. If you want to follow the podcast on social media, we're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at SENS Talk Podcast. That's all for now. I'm going to throw it over to our producer, Laddie, for his top 7 films.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for giving your top 7 sports films. I think you guys did a great job. There's a lot of sports films, and to try and narrow it down to 7 is fairly difficult, but I think you guys did a good job in explaining why you think they were the top 7 sports films. Here's my list. It's most likely going to be a bit different. I think I have 1 or 2 of what Noah chose, but they're just too good to pass up. I could not leave them off my list. Starting off at number 7, you got a classic, all for the family football movie, The Little Giants. Now, the reason why I love this movie and why it's on my list is because when I was a kid, I watched this movie all the time. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so I will admit it was a bit heartbreaking to see the Little Giants beat the Little Cowboys, but it's just a fantastic movie. I wasn't the biggest kid growing up, and this movie made me want to play football, which I did for a bit. And again, you can show this to people of all ages and everyone's going to enjoy it. It's fun for the whole family. The Little Giants on my number 7 spot. Moving up to number 6, being a hockey fan and a hockey player, there is no way this could be off my list. It is Slapshot, the original. This movie is by far one of the best sports movies according to most moviegoers and most movie sport fans. It has all the different feels in it. It has comedy, it has romance, it has some action in it. Come on, I mean, it's just... See, I'm even stumbling to get my words out on how good of a movie this is. The Hanson brothers have become a pop culture phenomenon, and they were first introduced in this movie. It's just a great hockey movie. You gotta love it. At number 6, Slapshot. Keeping in the hockey genre, we're moving to my number 5 spot. It is Miracle. Again, this movie is a all for the family fun movie. It is so inspiring. You will want to do the best you can at any sport after watching this movie. Disney did a fantastic job at bringing this real life event to movie. If you watch it side by side, I mean, it's pretty difficult to see what is the movie and what's real life. Such a great movie, all for the family. At my number 5 spot, we got Miracle. Now we're moving on to my number 4 spot. This movie is probably one of the first movies I ever cried to. At number 4, we got Remember the Titans. This has every type of feeling you can ever want in a movie. It is such a great all-around type of genre movie. My issue with most sports movies is that it focuses on one type of, genre, one type of feeling, and it never gets the whole movie going experience. But Remember the Titans does that. It has you laughing, it has you angry, it has you crying. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil it, but most people have most likely seen the ending. I cried so hard at number 4, the ending, Remember the Titans. That was just such a sad ending. My boy Denzel, he's one of the best actors, period. He did a fantastic job in this movie. At my number 4 spot, we have Remember the Titans. Now, we're going to move up to my top 3. These are my top 3 sports movies. Angels in the Outfield. Again, Disney did a fantastic job at making a movie all for the family. If you're not a sports fan, you could still watch this movie and enjoy it. It has great actors in it. Tony Danza, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Christopher Lloyd. It's just fantastic. You'll be laughing, and there's some sad parts, which it's always nice to let your emotions flow in a movie. It's a great baseball movie, one of the best family-friendly baseball movies, in my opinion. That's why Angels in the Outfield is at number 3 on my list. Okay, number 2. This was a difficult to choose where 1 and 2 would go. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but these are just my opinions. Number 2, we got Rocky 4. Now, please, I loved Rocky 1. I think that's definitely one of the best movies. But Rocky 4 just had that whole underdog feeling. It was just such a great movie. That last fight montage, the round, had me up on my chair screaming, cheering, punching the air, just going absolutely bananas. When Rocky punches the Russian and gets him cut for the first time.
He's cut! He's cut! Russian's cut!
Which shows his vulnerability. That was just pure cinematic magic in my opinion. So Rocky 4 is on my number 2 list. Now, can we get a drum roll, please? My top sports movie is D2, The Mighty Ducks. Now, please, before you ask for my head to get chopped off, D1 is by far one of the best ones. Don't get me wrong, but D2 was a really good one as well. The whole concept of the Commonwealth Games, Team USA versus Iceland. Iceland is not even a powerhouse in real life, but they made you believe it in this film. And you got Bombay versus the Dentist. It was just fantastic. I love this movie. I love the whole franchise. And this is why D2 was my number 1 film. So that was my top 7 sports film list of all time. I hope you enjoy it. Obviously everyone has their own opinion, so if you don't agree, hit us up on social media. Before I throw this back to our host, Brandon Plant, I wanted to give my boys a shout out for signing Greg the Leg Zerlin to a 3-year deal. I am so happy about this. The Cowboys really needed a kicker. They haven't had a fantastic kicker since Dan Bailey. I love Greg Zerlin. I always grab him in fantasy football. So shout out to my boys for signing Greg the Leg Zerlin. We're going to throw this back to our host, Brandon Plant, for his final remarks. We'll talk to you all next week.
Thanks, Giordano. Great choices and a great discussion. Giordano, one of the best producers in the business. Thank you very much. And before we close out episode number 2 of the Best of 7 podcast, I want to reiterate where you can listen and watch the Best of 7 podcast. Firstly, where you can listen to the Best of 7 podcast is on Spotify, Apple, Google Play, and SoundCloud. You can also watch and listen to the podcast on SENStalk on YouTube. Click that red button, make it gray, and subscribe to SENStalk. Thank you all for watching. That's all for now. We'll talk to you next week. I'm your host, Brandon Plant, and this is the Best of 7 podcast.